mentally healthy. So stress management is again one of the aspect which we are looking for. So I leave the floor to the medical college faculty, and they will be taking you to today's session. And Dr. KP Arun will be joining, and he will be taking over the session. So, sir, over to you. I think Dr. Rao is giving the first talk, if I'm not wrong, sir.
Yes, yes. Dr. Rao will be speaking first. It is followed by Dr. Kishore. After that, Ritvik, and followed by myself, Dr. Shivanand.
Yes, yes. So Dr. Rao has joined, sir.
I think he is joining. I'll just confirm it. 1 second. I'll just look into that. Just a minute.
Sure, sir. Sure. Just to brief you, the students, Dr. Rao, T.S. Satyanarayan Rao, he is the professor in the Department of Psychiatry and excellent orator. I have had an opportunity to listen to him many a times, and I'm sure once he is joining and he is taking over the session, you will enjoy his session. He gives a lot of real life examples and explains us how we are going to deal with the mental health and how we are going to come up, and stress management. There are various aspects Dr. Rao will be touching upon, and he will be going to talk to you soon. So just give us 5 minutes. Dr. Rao is joining us, and he'll be taking it up.
He is joining, sir. He is trying to log in.
Okay.
Yeah, he'll log in because I just called him. He's in his chamber and he's trying to log in, sir.
Okay. Okay. Fine.
Again, request
for the students will be please put your mic in mute mode. I request to the students to please make sure that your mic is on the mute mode, so that it will not disturb the session, and it will not interfere with the speakers when they start discussing with you all. I appreciate the students who have on their videos. I can see a couple of students. Darshan is there. Arun is there. Anslin is there. So Sri Darshini, I can see. So good. I appreciate that you all are set and ready to listen to the today's talk. So meanwhile, Dr. Rao joins. I'll just brief you about what is going to happen today. Today we will be, as I mentioned, that we will have 4 speakers, and first will be by Dr. Rao, and he will be talking to you about the stress management. Then our close friend Dr. Kishore will be discussing about the suicidal prevention during COVID-19 specifically. So Dr. Kishore also will be joining us, and he will be discussing about that. Dr. Ritvik is there with us. I just saw him. Dr. Ritvik is there. He has joined us, and he will be talking to you about how to adapt to social life and self-care. So he will be. Hi, hello, Dr. Ritvik. How are you? You have to unmute yourself, sir.
Yeah. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
I'm good, sir. Thank you.
Good to see you virtually.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
But this is one of the way we thought that let us not miss this and address the students virtually. Thank you for joining.
Definitely. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. And on the later afternoon, by 12:30, if our program goes on time, Dr. Shivananda will be discussing with you about interpersonal skills and adapting to the new environment. So this is the plan for today. And tomorrow, as I mentioned in the yesterday's orientation program also, that we will be celebrating 105th Jayanti celebration of the His Holiness Swamiji Jagadguru Shri Dr. Uh, Shiratri Rajendra Mahaswamiji. So by tomorrow we will be joining by 9:30, and after joining 9:30, Dr. Durai Swami will be taking you over, and he will be discussing with you all about the legacy. I'm I'm sure that you should know where you are studying. What is the legacy of this institution? So Dr. Durai Swami will be taking you through the legacy of the Sattur Mutt and JSS Mahavidyapitha and the various institutions what JSS has. Uh, as far as I know, the JSS has somewhere around 300 plus institutions, and it comprises of the colleges, the medical college, the schools. The Suttur Mutt, where it is near Mysore, where it is located, has a beautiful school. I'm sure once we come back to the campus, and probably we have some programs at Suttur. So if you get an opportunity to go to Suttur and visit that, I request you to do so, because it's a beautiful mutt, and the school, it is all free education over there to the school children which JSS provides. So apart from that, JSS has extended their wings internationally also. JSS has a school in Dubai. We have a college in Mauritius. We have the setup of research unit at USA. So it is not only confined to India, but at various countries, the JSS has its own name.
Sir, can I interrupt?
Yes, sir. Please, sir.
Yeah, Rao sir has joined. There is some technical issues, so I'll be starting the session. We let us not make the students wait. I'll be starting the session, and it will be followed by Rao sir. Is it okay?
I think Rao sir has joined, sir. I can see Dr. Rao.
I know he has joined. There is some just now I called him.
Okay.
There is some technical issue. It seems.
Not a problem with us, sir, at all. Sir, good morning, Dr. Rao.
Good morning.
How are
Sorry,
you?
there is a little, the net is so low, it is only just buffering. I'm not able to just move it also.
Okay. Very good to see you, sir. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation.
Really nice. We are missing Ooty, people there, nice food and beautiful weather, all those things.
Yes. Thank you so much, sir. So, as mentioned, Dr. Shivananda will be.
Let's start off. I'll just get.
Thank you. Over to you, Dr. Shivananda, for the session.
Yes. Thank you.
I think Dr. Arun has also joined with us. So after this, Dr. Arun will be taking over the session. Sir, good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Ashish. Good morning, Dr. Rao and Dr. Shivananda. Good morning to all.
Good morning, sir. How are you, sir? Doing well?
Yeah, fine, sir. Thank you, sir. Hope you are doing well.
Thank you, sir. Over to you, sir.
Yes.
Shall I start?
Please, sir.
Yeah. Good morning to all of you, and it's a lovely environment at Ooty, and we always miss Ooty, as Dr. Rao sir was mentioning, and you have an excellent principal who is always on his toes to help people, and he always understands people in a very good way. He is one of the, I'm talking on interpersonal relationship and adaptation to new environment. The best example how you can manage interpersonal relationship is your principal. And I know, like, your faculty, Arun as well as Ashish, they are all excellent people, and it is a very good opportunity for us to address you people. So let me start with my actual topic. Yeah, interpersonal relationship is one of the most important thing. Why, basically interpersonal relationship is the one which will determine how we proceed and how we excel in our career, as well as wherever we go. The basic thing is about interpersonal relationship. There is a great psychiatrist by name Abraham Maslow. He gave the hierarchy of needs. You can see that basically we all want, first of all, something to eat. then the clothing, shelter, comfort, self-present. These are the basic needs what we require. But after that, we need some sort of safety, security needs. What is this safety, security? Like a constant house to live, a place where there is no risk and all. The next comes this social needs. What is social needs? The basic social need is to be accepted by people and accepting other people also. So here comes the interpersonal skills. Why, if at all you think about the human relationship in a more creative way, there are 2 points I want to mention. One is about success, one it is about happiness. So when we had a small project, we asked what is success for, what is happiness for more, like we started from students to celebrities to politicians to great achievers to a mediocre people everywhere. When we started asking, most of the people, though they are very successful, they are not actually happy. So then how we can be happy? Like most of the time, apart from 8 hours of sleeping, most of the time you are with either with your parents or with your friends or with your teachers. So the denominator of all happiness depends upon how you are with other people. So the basic thing in any of the happiness is that how you deal with other people, that determines your happiness. So if you learn how to deal with your with other people, 85% of the time you'll be happy in your professional life and 99% in your personal life. So let us think how successful people are, and what is the difference in terms of successful people and failure, people who have failure. Let me check one second. Okay. So let me one second. There is a video. If at all it is playing, I'll try to play. So there are a lot of things between successful people and unsuccessful people. Basic thing is how we think about ourselves and others. Like I am not telling all of you to compromise for all the things, but demand for things, but never complain about things. People who are the difference, one of the major difference between a successful person and an unsuccessful person is the way their attitude is. Always have an attitude of gratitude instead of a frequency where you complain about everything. For example, if at all you have scored some marks, how much, maybe 85%, never think that it is you target 100%, but don't complain about 85%. Accept that 85% and target 100%. So, like how to be successful in terms of interpersonal relationship. So, what we think always getting along with people is the major thing that will determine our success. But it is not about the getting along with people. Getting along with people with a very good interpersonal relationship is very, very important. So, how we can be very successful with the other people is that how we can understand them, that is important. So we always talk about ego. What is ego? In psychiatry there is a different term of ego, but where the ego in terms of interpersonal relationship is that, for example, a patient comes to me at around 1:30 in the afternoon, and he starts talking lot of things, that he is a relative of a politician, and he knows lot of people and all those things. But I may be very much hungry. I want to go off from my place to have my lunch. I start becoming irritable, thinking that this fellow is in between my lunch and my hospital. So I may feel very much irritated. But basically, why I am telling this example is how people think. Because basically, all of us are egotistic. Means every one of us wants to prove that we are important. Why? Like whenever we whenever we talk about egotistic means like whenever a person comes to us and talk something like that means that he wants to tell that I am important. I may be a doctor, he may be a patient, one may be a pharmacist, another may be a lecturer, or may be a professor. There is a disturbance from one person. Can you mute that audio? Manjunath Reddy. Okay. So, how to understand human ego? Basically, each of us are unique. All our fingerprints are not same. So, all of us are unique. We have some sort of dignity, personality, and uniqueness with ourselves, which demands respect. So, all of you, if you want to have a good interpersonal relationship, you should always respect that specific individual personality. Most important drive is that if at all you don't respect individual personality, that is against the having a good interpersonal relationship. So every person you meet wants to tell he's important, and he amounts to something which is very specific. So in there is craving in everyone for one sort of having an importance. So most importantly, what we should understand is we should have something called as empathy. There is a lot of difference between empathy as well as sympathy. Where empathy is when you are standing in the shoes of others and start appreciating their needs and requirement. So, if at all you are empathetic with someone else, they will also be empathetic with you. Most of the time, what we'll do is we always tell, I am like this, I am like that, I do this, I do that, and all. But when it comes to interpersonal relationship, this is not in terms of good interpersonal relationship. Yes, I might have scored 98%, but Sachin Tendulkar had failed in 10th standard many times. That doesn't mean that Sachin Tendulkar is not intelligent. I am intelligent. There are a lot of intelligence components in intelligence. Maybe some are intelligent in terms of music. Some may be intelligent in mathematics. Some may be intelligent in talking well, linguistics. Some may be intelligent in terms of interpersonal relationship. So the most important intelligence, most of us are the same intelligence level, but the success depends upon something called as emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence, we have components, which includes the self-assessment, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. The self-regulation and motivation, empathy I had told what it is empathy, how to understand people. The social skills is the major thing in which we have one sort, what we call it as the interpersonal skills. In interpersonal skills, first of all, what you should understand is how you communicate with others. Whenever you are communicating with others, there are a few components which you should remember. One is verbal. In verbal, what are the things is always listen to people. If someone is expressing something to you, try to listen carefully. Don't cut short their talking. After listening, try to speak and know what you are talking and know what you want to express and then talk. What we do is suddenly we talk something impulsively, that will lead to a lot of interpersonal problems. In other things, reading and writing, many times, many things what we cannot convey through talkings, most of the people can write it and give. These are some communication patterns. One is verbal and then non-verbal. Whenever you are talking to some person, like the way you sit also matters. If at all you are sitting like this, like that, what he feels that he is not interested in my talk, or he feels that he is disrespecting me. These are a few things which are very, very important when you are communicating either with your friend or with your teacher or with your parents. The gestures what you use, sometimes the gestures also is also a very, very important component in the communication skills. The gestures may be in terms of pointing your fingers, like using a very good body postures is very, very important. For example, if at all you point with your index finger and talk like this, it always conveys something wrong on your part to the other person. It may convey something like a disrespect. The facial expressions is also important. When someone is talking to you, make sure that he understands that you are listening to him. What some you try to make eye contact or nod your head. These are a few things which will convey to the person who is talking to you that you are listening to him or respecting him. Then what are the barriers in listening? Many times when someone is talking, we try to interrupt him before he completes his talking. Like what happens in here is, it will either irritate that person, or what we do when it is 1/3 is over, we try to predict a message that what he is conveying, and most of the time it will be a wrong prediction. So blacking message to due to personal views. For example, he is trying to convey something. You have some personal bias, and you start blocking the message. So always try to listen completely. And whenever you're talking to someone, whenever you're listening to someone, make sure that you're listening to them only, and don't get involved either in mobile or start daydreaming somewhere. Please try it maybe 2 minutes or 3 minutes. Try to concentrate on what they're talking, and please continue hearing. And distracting mannerisms, like sometimes, as I showed you that time, suddenly she is standing there, taking your shirt and doing like this. These are few things which always causes more distress the person who is talking to you, and he feels that you are not able to listen to him. And if at all you don't understand what they are talking, make sure that you tell that, pardon, I didn't understand. And make sure that your thoughts are not wandering here and there when someone is talking to you. Please try to concentrate what they are talking, and please try to help them. Again, there is a okay, so don't have this wandering thoughts. Try to help them. Try to listen to them properly, and start continuing your talk, and help them to make sure that they understood that what they're talking, you are listening, and you're trying to help them out. Okay. So there is something called as hearing versus listening. See, hearing is just hearing and hearing here and living there. But listening is a fantastic thing. What is listening? When you are talking to someone, see, every second, every minute, you are trying to learn something. You are trying to gain something. But whenever you are having a conversation with someone, or you are attending a lecture, try to listen rather than hear. In listening, the major thing what is required is concentration. Second thing, whenever you are listening, try to avoid distractions. Whenever there is something distracting, please try to distract. Avoid interruption. Then don't interrupt people, let them complete, then you can tell your views beautifully, wonderfully. But only thing is, don't interrupt them. If at all you don't understand some point, try to ask for clarification. And the major thing in in listening is that giving a feedback. So what is this giving a feedback? Feedback can be constructive or destructive. For example, the constructive feedbacks, like if at all you had a problem with your friend, then there are some 10 people are there. Don't give feedback in front of everyone. You can tell them, then please come, can we meet at this time personally, and then give feedback. So how to give a feedback? Always address the behavior, not the person. For example, if your friend or your parent or your sibling had scolded you or done something, always address that behavior, that what you scolded me, that hurt me. That is more than enough. Instead of that, what we tell, you are a very bad person, you always do this. Don't comment on the person, only address the behavior which had hurt you. Then that behavior, whatever has hurt you, let it be only specific for that. For example, he would have scolded you, that would have hurt you, but you don't take that some old things and all, you don't start talking about that and then becoming irritable. That is not correct. So promptly give the feedback what had hurt you. Always start with a positive thing. For example, positive things means you start telling them, they see, most of the time our relationship was extremely good. This time, what you have told did not go well with me. It hurt me. If at all you express like that, that will always give a positive feedback to them. And then always discuss about the solution, not about the problem. What we don't know, we start talking about so many things. So no, what happened, like you always do that, you always do this, I am not happy with you. Please don't do that. Always try to focus at the solution rather than the problem. If at all keep on focusing on the problem, there is no end for that. Always try to communicate with the people and try to sort out the problem rather than giving more problems and discussing more problems. Okay, then if at all you give a feedback, what we do know, we always talk, keep on blaming them and keep on bearing grudge on them, and finally our friendship or interpersonal relationship will become worse. Instead of that, giving a feedback immediately in a positive way, that will prevent lot of costly mistakes or accidents. It provides an opportunity for improving work performance. These are all few things which will definitely help us in building up a relationship and building up a good interpersonal skills. Then we all things to put together, that will help us to make us more better. And what are destructive feedbacks? For example, always if at all you scold your friend in front of everyone, that will lead to entirely break up your friendship. Don't do it. Don't ever comment on their personal character. Don't ever generalize your feedback. Don't delay it. As I told you, don't delay it. Don't give negative thing. Always give a solution in your feedback that will always help you to have a good interpersonal relationship. As I told you earlier, always use this sandwich technique. Sandwich technique means you always start with the appreciation that all these days you have helped me a lot and we had a very good relationship. Now bring that point what had hurt you. For example, like the scolding what he did or she did. Then end with a compliment. End with a compliment means like always try to tell them that this was the thing that you will always, I know you will always rectify it. You are a very flexible person, and end that feedback. So in the feedback, whenever you are talking to someone, always all these things should be kept in mind. Always talk clearly to people. There should not be any semantic problems. You should always convey the message in a clear-cut way. Never there should be a distraction when you are communicating, when you are listening to them. Instead of hearing, please listen to them. There are a lot of cultural differences. For example, in Karnataka itself, we have so we have so many so many different cultures. For example, the North Karnataka person may be talking in a different way. South Karnataka person can be talking in a different way. Always look at their culture and try to analyze that and give feedback. One of the major problem in interpersonal problem in communication or interpersonal issue is that anger. Anger is the most enemy for human beings. Most of the human race, most of the wars happen because of this anger. So anger is a very common emotion, all of us. The way we respond to that emotion of anger is very, very important. So how to control anger or how best we can handle anger is the most important thing. First of all, in anger management, there are 3 steps. The first thing is self-awareness. For example, if I am angry, I start feeling that my ear is burning, as if someone has put a Bunsen burner behind my ear. Like that, I start feeling. That is my way of understanding that I am angry. So all of you, I suggest you, please look at whenever you get angry, what physical symptoms, what bodily symptoms happen to you, and then just tell to yourself, yes, I am angry now. So the next step is when you are angry, you try to tell I am angry. The second step, you start distracting yourself. For example, if at all you are angry on me, try to go away from me. After that, if you go away from the person whom you are angry, after some time you feel that I should come back and hit him. So that is the time where you can distract yourself by either calling a person who is not related to the person who is angry on you. And even then, if it is not controlled, then only you can count 1, 2, 3. But what we do, we are angry, slap someone, and then start counting 1, 2, 3. So don't do that. Like always, try to understand the physical symptoms what you're going through. Next step, try to distract from that situation. Then it will be, then you can somehow control it. So anger is nothing like a sea wave. You would have seen a seashore, no? In the seashore, like the waves would be coming like that. It will be very scary when we look at those waves. But it will come and go. Anger is also like that. It will come and go. At that point of time, how we manage is the key thing. How how we control our anger. So off late, what has happened is because these interpersonal relationships are failing because of this social media. You can see in 1984 how people were sitting together and having lunch, dinner together. In 2014, you can see the picture on the screen where all of that father, mother, children, everyone are even the dog is holding a tab. So the communication skill, only the virtual media will never help us. Always talking face to face. These are some things which will always help us to uh, be in a good communication skill. Next topic of mine is adaptation to the new environment. What is this adaptation to new environment? Many times, like you have come to a new place where you are in a new place. It is a professional course. This is one of the very good institutions you have joined, and like now you have come to this place, and it is totally a new environment where you want to adjust to so many of the difficulties in this place. So how to adapt to this new environment? Earlier, we used to talk about this whenever we used to come there, where how to adapt. Like when I talk to one, this time we are doing it in the virtual media. Whenever we used to talk to you people were there, what we had seen is that we two types of difficulties are there for students to adjust to the new environment. So one is that how you one is the academic difficulty, other is that how to adjust to the new environment. The academic difficulties are like example, this is a professional course. In this professional course, there is lot of stressful things in terms of it may be big books and more syllabus will be there. But what you can do in this, how to read for this is like you can start. Like earlier, we had very small books when we are studying for in the +2 or in terms of other +2 or +2 or other things which was happening. Now the problem is like you can't by heart the whole text. My suggestion for you people is that you always discuss with your professors. Not only that, almost 20% of what we see we remember, 20 40 30% of what we hear we remember, 60% of or 40% of what we see and hear we remember, 50% what we see, hear, and read we remember, 80% when we see, hear, remember, read, discuss. So, if at all you are able to attend your classes regularly, make a notes of that and try to discuss with your friends. Almost 90% of the thing which you can reproduce it. So the major academic difficulty is when compared to +2 or other things, here you have entered a professional course where you have a lot of syllabus where you need not by heart everything. You can just make key points of that and effectively managing time. Like how to effectively manage time is that every week you should have a schedule. These are the things I should read at the end of this week. Sundays, instead of reading new things, you revise that. You make two kinds of notes. One is it is a prolonged notes. Other is it should be only 40 pages at the during the exam. What you should read, which you may forget. These are some ways where you can adapt to this new academic difficulties. The other about thing is how to mingle with the new friends, how to talk to them, how to help them. So the first thing, as I told you, the interpersonal communication. Like always, I feel your institution is a wonderful institution where your teachers are extremely good and feel free to talk to them. If at all you feel free to talk to them, avoiding all those negative emotions, you feel that if I talk to them, my language may be wrong, the way I'm approaching may be wrong. All those things you remove, you just go and talk to them. Most of the difficulties will be sorted out. So still there are so many talks lined up to address. I think Dr. Rao sir is already ready to address to you. So at the end of the session, we'll have a question and answer session. So any of your problems you can ask to me. Rao sir, are you online, sir? Rao sir?
Sir, he's coming, sir. He's in OPD. He's coming.
The slides, Bharat?
Sir, it's ready, sir.
So sir will take over, or shall I continue for another 5 minutes?
You can continue, sir. Another 5 minutes.
Another 5 minutes. So the second thing like you should always have a routine in your life. Okay, the routine in your life in terms of first the routine, you should always have a proper routine. For example, we get up in the morning at a different time, go to bed in a different time. All these things always affects our circadian rhythm. To have a good circadian rhythm, always you should go to the bed at the right time and get up at the right time and start doing 5 minutes. You should always keep it to yourself. Whenever you get up in the morning after you brush or have your doing routine, keep 5 minutes for yourself in terms of just close your eyes and observe what thoughts are coming to you. Many of the times you get lot of negative thoughts. Try to just tell stop to those thoughts. The first thing. The second 5 minutes, like always I tell, we are people, like when you take a mobile, we think about 64 GB, 128 GB, 256 GB RAM and all. But if at all you look at our brain is 5680 GB computer. So whenever you are programming, for example, in C program or something, whenever you are programming, you always tell that the output is ready, output is given. Like that, here also you should program your mind when you get up in the morning, how you should be the whole day. For example, I should be happy the whole day. I should be having positive emotions the whole day. This type of programming always makes you ready for the whole day to be in a positive frame of mind. That is one. Second thing, all of your young chaps I have seen on the video, most of you are very handsome and slim, everything good. But the thing is, if at all we are slim or something, it's not that we should not exercise. I always stress upon everyone to at least exercise 20 to 30 minutes in a day. Exercise is like every day you exercise for 20. I am not telling go for a gym or do get six packs. No, at least 15 or 20 minutes of a walk or a jog and 10 minutes of stretching exercises is like giving you are keeping 10,000 at your bank, because even if you achieve you, like I always appreciate the pharmacy college, because you are the people who give leaders. Our our pro chancellor is a pharmacist, and he has led to our university to such a great heights. Like you will all achieve a lot of things because you have entered such a wonderful institute. But the thing is, if at all you don't exercise, you will develop a lot of disease in the future. One, the physical disease. Second thing, most of the time, what you should whenever you do exercise, there is something called as endorphins, which will get released in your brain. That is the best thing which will always help you to be happy. The second most important thing is in your 3 years 5 years course, keep laughing, because 99% of the CEOs people choose only people who laugh, smile. It may be a very hectic schedule. Keep laughing. Make a small humorous statements that will keep up your spirits up, and you start doing everything. See, though maybe like we always think that when we celebrate small achievements, you may not get the other one. Don't do that. Each moment, each small success, you might have scored a very good marks in your small internal assessment. Celebrate that. When you celebrate your success, the success will become more. If you don't celebrate your success, it will always lead to more problems and difficulties. Always celebrate the success. Always develop an attitude of gratitude. Means like whenever when we get up in the morning, we always start blaming, oh, you today I got up at 8 o'clock, what is there? But when you get up in the morning, you should always think, I have two eyes which is working, my nose is working, my legs and hands are working. You should be thankful for that and start the day with an attitude of gratitude. That will always help you to have a good life. So I think now, sir, Rao sir,
Ready.
great. So now you'll have a wonderful talk from Rao sir. He's my teacher, my mentor. It should have started from Rao sir. Now Rao sir is ready, and he will definitely give a very good start for your course. So I over to you, Rao sir. Thank you, sir.
Hello.
Arun, sir?
Hello.
Yes, sir. We are audible, sir.
Shall I start off?
Yes, sir.
Good morning, everybody. Okay. I'm extremely happy that this program is happening, and we are consistently being invited to participate in this. This collaboration between Department of Psychiatry and Pharmacy, we value very much. Coming to the refresher program, what is actually being there, the idea that a lot of psychological issues and behavioral issues are important to attend to is one of the very encouraging sign. As I had told in the beginning, we really enjoy being there at Ooty, that pleasant environment, and one of the most beautiful colleges what we are there, and the activities that happen to make a real human being is something commendable, and I must congratulate you all for having chosen this particular college.
Dr. Rao, sorry to interrupt. Can you come a little bit right side? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That will be a little bit right side so that we can see you fully, sir. A little bit, sir. Little bit, sir.
Is all right?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Of course, pharmacists are extremely important for doctors because we are the only people who will read our language and convey it to maybe our patients and relatives. That way, we are stress busters to quite a few people. Let me just start off with my presentation also. In the meantime, if there is any issues are there, you can just ask me to stop and discuss too. I'll be sharing my slides. Can I share my slides?
Yes, sir. Of course, sir.
Okay.
Do you have any?
Okay, 1 minute. The photo. There are many cases to be seen.
Dr. Rao?
You are muted. Host has disabled slide sharing. That's
Fine, sir. Fine, sir. We'll enable you. So kindly check.
Still, it is the same. Now this slide sharing. Save ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ.
ಸರಿ
ಮತ್ತೆ ಡೌನ್ಲೋಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ.
Dr. Rao? Dr. Rao?
No, I got it. I had minimized it, but okay. You able to see the slides?
No, sir, not yet.
Slides will be. Okay. Are you able to see?
Yes, sir. Friends.
Okay.
So make it a slideshow, sir.
Okay. In fact, the topic stress management has been chosen only to emphasize the point that everyone who is alive and living likely to go to this particular problem. This applies to teachers, this applies to students, this applies to husband, this applies to wife, and each and every person. For a beginner, we just want to give a little highlight of certain specific aspects related to this. That way, the coming days, you should be able to manage your studies, manage your life, and come out with flying colors. What precisely to talk in stress management, because you possibly call a religious, spiritual person, you will be speaking to in a different fashion. You call a pharmacist, his way of understanding stress is actually something different. You call possibly a physicist, in fact, he will be trying to look at this particular problem in a different fashion. And coming to an example, see, we wanted to start the program at 10 o'clock. There are so many glitches And that itself was making us stressful. And all the classes online means you can understand the amount of extent of confusion that might be there. It's just added that particular figure to indicate with the webinars, with the teaching that may be going on, and the amount of information load that you have been putting on, it may be actually much more confusing and stressful. Over and above this Corona Express, which is there and moving all over the world and creating a lot of difficulty. What actually this Corona has done is that each and everyone has become a little conscious and for all practical purposes stressful from various angles. It is affecting all the people, and it has affected all aspects of our life too. And when we try to look at whom to meet, what to do, and whether to come out or stay inside the room or attend the classes or not. And in the newspaper, you must be reading about Z and other exams, whether it should be held or not held. They all indicate the extent of confusion actually people might be going through. And if you open any TV program, any social media outlet for the details, morning till night, actually we are bombarded with so much of information. And more particularly the WhatsApp, what you may be used to. In fact, what is actually the real, what is actually the fake, we really don't know. When information overload, that can confuse anybody for all practical purposes. That's why we always tell you, social media or media alone is not the answer, and try to be as important as possible. Look into the information that is actually very genuine and scientific. Maybe what has actually been given by the medical people, maybe the government, and most probably, in fact, the World Health Organization. In fact, they are time to time putting up various bulletins to make you aware what actually to be done. Different SOPs, different information bulletins actually giving you what actually. What we are trying to tell is don't necessarily, in fact, we are already stressful, get carried away with this particular problem in a much bigger way. You have to protect yourself. There is no shortcut for that particular point. With that, in fact, one of the advertisement was like, sab logon ka hosla badana. In fact, that means we have to improve the confidence of the people. That should. What is actually the effect of this? See, possibly you left home and came to Ooty, and all that protective environment what you are brought up, this actually itself produces anxiety. Added to this, now this Corona, what will happen, whether I will be alive, whether I will be healthy, whether I will be able to complete the course, further adds that fear and anxiety. And what we are going to tell you in the subsequent classes is actually look at the stress from the general point of view, look at effect of Corona to some extent, and something what I wanted to tell you about interpersonal and other related areas. In fact, they are the key components for individual's health, which Dr. Shivanand would have come a little later. He has already given. So I will touch upon each of these areas in a very brief way. We are all well aware, health is not just mere absence of disease. It is a well-being, physical, mental, social, spiritual, and maybe you can add another point, what is called as sexual. What it means is, in fact, somehow we carry on with our responsibilities is one aspect of it. But I do well. And this extraordinary concept, what we call as the wellness, that I can perform to the peak of my performance is actually one of the things actually one would be looking into. Coming to stress, of course, stress is one of the very important common problem. And as I told in the introductory line itself, stress is what actually, in fact, we all sometimes feel, sometimes don't feel, but we are surrounded by this. Being alive is actually stressful. This is actually one of the statements made. If somebody says I'm not stressful at all, it only means that either he's in coma or he is no more alive. So this is part and parcel of our being alive. And when you are trying to look at aspects related to the stress, almost one can understand what this blind man trying to understand elephant. For some, it looks like a fan. For another person, it looks like a pillar. And for another person, it looks like a wall. So different people give different connotations. And stress, what we talk about, today's stress is something totally different from what actually, in fact, the earlier days people used to go through. When life was very simple, maybe the tiger, maybe the volcano, or maybe the something danger, what actually was considered as part of our indicator of stress. But today, you talk about exam, you talk about each and every day the news, what you see, and many of these areas actually generate significant level of anxiety. What is this exam? See, the issue is when we are not certain about certain things, that's what actually which creates a whole lot of difficulty. So when I tell you that you are all going to fail in the exam, it is not going to produce anxiety. When I tell you that you are all going to pass in the exam, it is not a question of anxiety. When you don't know whether you are going to pass or fail, in fact, this is what actually triggers what we basically call the anxiety, that we don't know. You are a very good student, whether I score very high marks, whether I come first to the class or maybe I'm the last one. In fact, this is the type of things actually which produce significant level of anxiety. And as you might be aware, from the very young age, you wanted to study, try to recollect, not possible, and you might have almost decided sometimes that it is almost impossible to take the exam. Some people, in fact, skip the exam for this particular reason. And I just to make you little wake up from possibly you may be getting drowsy already about 1 hour's program is going on. Say maybe talking to your friend. In fact, even in this type of things, actually you want to tell something, but you feel that you are thinking. In fact, one of the very common things. You get attracted to somebody. In fact, that produces a range of anxieties. And you are all young people. Attraction to boys, attraction to girls are extremely supposed to be common. But the whole confusion is actually, in fact, every boy looks so nice and every girl looks so nice. So whom to love and what to do, in fact, that can create a lot of difficulty. More than that, we add expectation. Many of the times, relationships don't survive, not because things were not all right, but because we add too much of expectation, and expectation when it is unrealistic can create quite a bit of difficulty. And many of these type of relationships land up with difficulty, not because of anything, but it needs to be worked out. And this is one of the reasons we always tell you, when you come for studies, concentrate on the studies, do well and get out of this place. And then there is a whole lot of time available for planning the life. What is the stress? So you can imagine when serene water is there, it looks so nice. But you just drop one small stone, it produces ripples. This is what the whole issue is about. In fact, Dr. Shivananda was mentioning about what we call as emotional intelligence. See, we are all capable of handling and doing a lot of things. We are all intelligent for all practical purposes to so many ways. But all said and done, some people will do well, some people will don't do well, not because of any other factor. But one D component which actually determines people have understood is actually your emotional capacity and your capacity to handle emotions. So it is almost like a two-way process. It all depends upon whether you take the things sportively or you get worried and concerned about it in such a way that actually you land up with a range of difficulty. So when you are trying to talk about ripple, see, the feeling is actually some experience which very pleasant or unpleasant you might be experiencing. The emotion is actually a hedonic state. What it means is whole lot of physiological changes, brain, heart, each and every organ. And this is one of the reasons, in fact, somebody gets headache, somebody gets heart pain, and somebody gets gastric sensation. So range of symptoms actually one can land up with because of this. I can explain to you each of these type of terms in such a great extent, but time doesn't permit me for all those type of things. So one of the joke actually what I can put is actually that those people who are married, they can understand this point very easily. Stress when your wife is pregnant. That means something you are going to miss for certain length of time. See, Virat Kohli and Anushka, she is pregnant like that. In fact, both are pregnant. That's what actually the news was reading. So something, in fact, you have to sacrifice now. Anxiety when your girlfriend is pregnant. That means there's actually little extra stress. And anxiety is one way to explain stress itself, but there are few extra additional points. Unanticipated risks are actually associated with this. Panic when both are pregnant. You can understand the type of extent of difficulty actually the person goes through. That his heart starts beating and he's uncomfortable about so many aspects of life. Of course, depression and tragedy when you are not responsible for any one of them. So in gist, I was trying to explain to you, stress is equivalent terminologies. When you open an encyclopedia or a dictionary, there are about 600 to 1,000 different explanations have been given. Somebody may talk about pressure, somebody may talk about tension, somebody may talk about worry. These are all different terminologies that have been given. And for each one, it carries a particular specific meaning. What are the characteristics of the stress? This is universally present. You cannot be free from stress. This is what you have to understand. This has both good and bad aspect related to this. This will be present anytime, anywhere, and anybody. In fact, the important issue is, in fact, whether it is something helpful to me or it is not helpful to me. What I am trying to explain to you is, so you take an example about 100-meter dash. You are there on the line, and before that visual made, you are already sweating, your heart rate is increasing, and you are feeling breathless. Your body is trying to cope up with this particular thing. Now you ran, you came first, you are called on the podium, your principal gives you a gold medal. See, that is good part of it. Though heart was beating faster and you are feeling uncomfortable, without that, it was not possible for you to run and do that particular task. So this is the good part of it. You might have felt little distress. In fact, that is actually the difficulty everybody has to go through. And if it becomes too much, you become conscious of your heartbeat. You become conscious of your respiration. You become conscious of so many things, which can say whether I'm going to get heart attack. Please, actually, that is one which is actually producing the problem. The third component is this is highly individualistic. What is stressful for you, it is not stressful for anybody else for necessarily. It could be stressful for many people, possible. But all said and done, it all depends. I can tell you one very simple example. A boy may be there who has failed in 5 subjects, but he may be very happy, takes the bath, applies send, goes around ladies' hostel and comes back. You look at there is another girl who has scored 2 marks less than actually distinction. She may be inside the room, not coming out, not taking food, and she is already thinking in terms of suicide. So, exam failure or success not going to differ to individual means it is actually we are actually wrong on that side. So each one actually deals with any of these type of situations on their own past experiences, the wherewithals actually what they have developed based on that particular point. So some people are highly prone and some people are less prone. In fact, this particular concept we are going to talk to you a little later, and this is what is called as hardiness. You have gone through difficulties. You had difficulty with money. You had difficulty with the food. You have difficulty with so many things. You can take it for granted. You should be thankful to the God because He has given you enough time to manage many of these type of things. There are boys, girls, but just because some particular comment, a few less marks in one subject, or a teacher scolded, is more than sufficient for them to even think in terms of what we call suicide. So some people are highly prone, some people are less prone. So being aware and able to manage is actually one of the things what one actually would be looking into. There is a law called as Yerkes-Dodson law. What it means, see, you might have seen sometimes parents insist that the child should score first, he should come first, he should be scoring all the time very good marks. They get very much upset if there is something bad. See, what this Yerkes-Dodson law says is, with increasing anxiety or with the stress, when it is mild, it actually increases our performance. When this particular stress becomes significant, it can actually add to my improvement or my whole performance get flattened out. But if the stress becomes too much, actually my performance may come down. This is the story about the parents insisting on always 100% the child should score. In fact, instead of looking into the subject or trying to recollect what actually he needs to do, he may be worried about whether he is up to the mark, whether he can score 100%. So don't try to put too much of pressure and this thing on yourself. And this is the advice for the teachers also, that more pressure you put, more likely it actually creates problems. What is actually the stress? In fact, what people have realized is actually it is almost like an alarm. It sets off a range of things. As I told you, at the small drop of a stone, the ripples what it produces, and this is what we call as the stress alarm. And There is a small video if you want to see. See. I think video is not playing. I think the same difficulty Shivanand also had. We mentioned to you that stress can be made out very easily in some. The exam is coming and your heart is beating and you are not able to concentrate. That is understandable stress. But many of the times, this is only the indirect explanation actually what makes us understand that actually the individual is going through stress. I don't sleep well. I'm not able to concentrate. I feel nervous. My heart is beating. I'm getting irritated. I feel nervous. I feel difficult to manage people or work or whatever it is. They are all now considered to be, in fact, the silent signals of the stress. You go to your friend's room, the way it is arranged, more haphazard, more stress actually this particular boy is going through. In fact, one can make out very easily. People have described this whole process as a candle burning at both the ends. And this particular stress is manageable when your friends are there, teachers are there, and your parents are there around. When you are handling it alone, sometimes you may break down very easily. So this is one of the very important message that, in fact, in the group, in fact, we are likely to do well. There is also another idea. You might have seen the people who are very efficient, very disciplined, God-fearing, and doing very well. But all said and done, in fact, they may be actually the people who are landing up with whole difficulty. In fact, this is one of the experiments wherein there are two monkeys in two different cages. Electric shock comes and they have to experience. One monkey has the switch and another monkey has no it. In fact, when current comes, this second monkey has no control on it. But this first monkey can learn to control this particular. Ultimately, what was done about 15 days later when analysis was done, the monkey which had the control had developed hypertension, had developed ulcers, and so many other problems. What it means is more responsibility, more higher you go, more likely you are likely to be stressful. This is one of the reasons why, say for example, lecture is given compared to less salary compared to an assistant professor. Principal is paid very high mainly because he has to handle actually too many stresses. To assess this, what actually one can make use of, there are some interview schedules are there are some scales available, one can rate, you can talk to them and make a list of all the type of difficulties what actually one may be going through. And what actually has been happening nowadays is actually the amount of pressure we go through. The family, work, maybe the studies, and many of these aspects, in fact, actually the tax on the individual. And people have actually found that ultimately, in fact, this may be one of the most important problem, which is undermining productivity to a lot many other things. And as a student, let us just look into one or two small things. See, you are always supposed to be under stress for the simple reason that what you read today, another 6 months later, actually it changes. You have to keep on updating. You have to keep on looking to the journals. You have to keep on looking into the developments that are happening world over. So it taxes you likely in a very big way. Where all these type of things are happening. See, a time was there when people used to believe that heart is one of the key important component where our emotions are stored, or our intellect is operating. And this is one of the reasons why somebody is love. In fact, they try to put that symbol of heart and punctured when you have the system of this actually they depict. Any icon related to the love and other related things, in fact, this carries this particular symbol. But let me tell you, heart is nothing more than a mere palm. And everything is actually determined by our brain. So for you to do well, some functions of the brain you are supposed to be aware of. That way you can actually control and manage. There are a range of things one can talk about, which I am going to very briefly touch upon each of these type of things. You take an example, when we were born, maybe our 50% of our brain has developed. And the brain growth happens in such fast speed, the first 5 to 6 years are considered one of the important components. In fact, our brain is growing so well, and we try to bring in, there is something called stopping the brain's functions. In fact, jokingly, I always say that particular process of stopping our brain's growth is actually admitting the child to the school. Once you put the regimentation, once you put the structure, once you put rules and regulations, and very spontaneous free development that was happening, actually likely to get affected in significant. What one can do for that? See, for brain, there are billions of cells, and again millions of actually connections, what we are talking about each one. And this is necessary for our brain's growth. And this particular brain growth just doesn't happen by just reading. Why it happens and what happens. In fact, if you think about how actually to use our brain, that is by making use of it. There are people, I don't want to strain my brain, so keep the book under the head and sleep off. In fact, that is not going to work. Heart and brain, in fact, these are the two extremely important components which actually determine our behavior. And what actually people have found, say a child is there in the crib and you go and make sound or colorful things what you have attached, all these type of things actually stimulates brain in a big way. And one important component which actually has been found to be one of the most useful thing is actually the play. This is where you learn what we are trying to talk about, emotional intelligence, or what we basically call the interpersonal skills. See, when you are going there out and playing, you have to wait for your turn. Say, take an example, cricket. Your turn for bowling, your turn for batting, your turn for doing something else. So this teaches you how to tolerate frustration, teaches you how to get along with people, teaches you how actually the life can be managed. So many things are learned. And all these type of things are just not possible by sitting and reading. And you imagine nowadays, all the children, they are playing football, cricket, everything on the mobile. Can you imagine the amount of unrealistic expectation actually what they carry? And later, in the real situation, they may actually do very bad. So you have to nurture your brain, nurture your heart. Both should go hand in hand. That means emotions and cognition. In fact, these are all very important. There is no shortcut for this at all. There are no medicines available. You are all pharmacists. You will be giving medicines for 100 problems. But let me tell you, there is no medicine which actually increases the brain's functioning. And whatever actually, there are few things like nootropic agents, which will help you actually the brain's growth, what we are talking about. It does only just like paracetamol tablet. If fever is there, it reduces. If there is no problem, in fact, it has no effect on that particular point. Coming to brain, it is actually a 3 layers. The central core, which controls all our breathing, respiration, what is one-way component, and maybe the digestion, heart beating, everything. And this is one of the very vital part. This is there in lower animals. Even in human beings, it is important. And you might have heard of it when we are talking about stress management. Your teachers will tell you when you are riding the motorbike, wear the helmet. Why you should wear the helmet is any injury to the central core, that reptilian what I have depicted in the slide, can create, in fact, very devastating effect. It is not possible to bring you back. The newer brain and other brain parts, in fact, damaged, it is possible to get it back. But this particular point, if there is something problematic, it is almost impossible. The second layer is what is called as limbic system, which deals our emotions. I get very angry very fast. I am not able to concentrate. I am always restless. If somebody is trying to tell you, in fact, his animal brain is much more active than the newer brain. One has to learn to control. What one can do, we'll come to that particular point a little later. You might have seen when you are driving a motorbike, scooter, or car, the dogs come behind barking. In fact, this particular process is, in fact, one of the special area of limbic functioning, what is called as territoriality. Everybody has their own place and their own way of handling this. And if there is any problem, in fact, you can look into one of the small picture I just added to see that even if you are reading paper, if somebody gives to, in fact, you feel upset. Your boss gets angry because you are jumping into his territory. And when you are trying to talk about men, women, the related issues, the harassment and other things we'll talk about, there is something called as social distance, there is something called as professional and other related areas, and there's something called as personal space, and there's something called as intimate space. When you get into that, that's where actually the problem can come up. And one more other thing is actually one of the important component, what is talked about, the sex. And this is one of the area determined by, and particularly among younger adults, adolescents, and I'll take an example. Very often, in fact, infatuation and such other things actually can create quite a bit of difficulty. And that is because, of course, brain is one component, and there is a range of hormones and other things actually which are goading you to do certain things, to prove your point. You are a boy, you are a girl, and a lot many other things can create quite a bit of difficulty. The newer brain is responsible for what you do. The studying techniques, remembering capacity, and lot many things what we talk about, they're all actually, in fact, depend on this. There are a few important areas what we need to keep it in mind. all of us have right and left hemispheres. Our right hemisphere is concerned with what we talk about the language. Uh, in fact, left hemisphere is concerned with the language, mathematics, science, and all these type of things. The right for the range of our what we basically call the art, dance, and appreciation, and lot many other such what we call as the emotional aspect. A balance has to be there. There may be a person who has studied very well, scored first rank, but unable to manage people. The right-hand person might have failed 10 times in some of the classes, but in fact, you might have noticed this is very common in among doctors actually. There's some fellow who was failing repeatedly, but in the practice, he does extremely well because he knows how actually to manage people. In the same fashion, this right and left, when we are trying to talk about, say, somebody takes pharmacy. A lot of pharmacy issues are actually the left-brain related functions. And possibly you are already inclined in that particular line, you are likely to do very well. In fact, one can make decision in this particular area. As a learner, see, there are students who come and ask us how I should study. See, there are some people who learn by actually seeing. There are some people who learn by actually hearing. There are some people who learn by what we call as doing. So each one has its own capacity. So there is nothing like this particular aspect is good and that particular aspect good. And what actually has been very well documented, when we combine all this type of things together, most likely we do a much better actually the learning related things. And when we are trying to talk about intelligence, see, we administer certain tests and we give certain scores. Say somebody may score 100 plus minus 90 as in fact what is recorded as normal intelligence. But Gordon is one of the scientists who came out with an idea that it is not something one simple this thing. There is something called as linguistic, mathematical, visual, spatial, physical, interpersonal, intrapersonal. There are actually about 7 different components actually with women, girls. In fact, they are extraordinarily great in case of linguistic capabilities. Men actually score little more higher in the mathematical area. Musical, in fact, very well documented that the female sex scores very well. Visual, spatial, men's vision is actually very often narrow. Women's vision is actually very broad and sweeping. Physical, in fact, boys score little more than actually what we talk about the girls. So each one is actually bestowed with certain specific capacities and how one can use it. These are all very important. Depending upon our capabilities, one should actually work on that and try to develop. Coming to, in fact, exams and things like that. A day was there when students used to be anxious and parents used to be cold. To now, in fact, the students are cool and the parents are actually, in fact, so tense. I used to remember one of my daughter when she was supposed to take PUC exam, she was a little cool. In fact, I was getting phone call from all the relatives that as a father, I am not taking responsibility. People get worried that we should be nervous and upset. And look at the currently, in fact, all this online teaching. In fact, teachers are working much more than actually the students. In fact, this may be a joke, but all said and done, it also has one of the real picture attached to it. And how we study. See, one has to be systematically do the things from the beginning. Time to time, you are carrying it a responsibility. You are likely to do much better fashion than previous day. I had a patient about 2-4 days back, wherein, in fact, he started reading only 24 hours before, according to the mother. The reason he says, that is the time what I read, that's what I can remember. See, this is not what actually going to help you in the exam, because if question is twisted a little bit, you are likely to land up with a difficulty. IPL is going to start in Gulf country. In fact, you spend a lot of time and suddenly you feel that you should write the exam properly, you are likely to land up. Our brain is going to grow or by what we call osmosis and by certain methods, absorb what is contained there in the book. We are most likely going to land up with a whole lot of difficulty. So what is necessary is you have to plan your life from the beginning. You show attention, show interest, show drive and motivation. You are likely to do very well in the exam. And see, there is one of the sayings, you enjoy means you don't have to work at all like that. The same story applies to education also. You enjoy means most probably you don't have to put up too many things. So there are some important components when you are talking about stress management from a student's angle. How to prepare for the exam. See, one of the deadliest enemies are your fear and stress. Set up realistic goals where you study. In fact, silence and certain other aspects are extremely important. Library is one of the best place actually. Comfortable lighting, everything is ready. very positive images you enlist, enriching environment you have, and you are likely to do well. Establishing say for example, it is not that I want to read 100 pages today. What you have to put up is actually the specific number of pages I am reading, whether I understood, and maybe you make a notes and small points there, which can help you actually in doing things better. Realistic, concrete, and specific, verifiable points. These are all terminologies used, but extremely important. Plan a lot of activities. Reading means preparing for reading means not that only reading. You have to have put up timetable for maybe you have to go to the bathroom, you have to eat food, or maybe spend few minutes with the friends, and about half an hour you see news. All these things are actually extremely important. Along with that, if you are able to relax better with certain techniques available, you are likely to do much better. Concentration, the same story applies. In fact, be realistic, focus, sleep, diet, exercise, and balanced diet. In fact, balanced life. In fact, these are all extremely important components for concentration. Without sleeping, all through the night I want to read, and tomorrow I want to concentrate. It is not possible. I have seen there are 2 continuous days, exams are there. You stay overnight completely awake and try to read. You may do well in the first paper, but second paper you are likely to do very badly because your body and mind doesn't permit. And about remembering, in fact, repeatedly students ask us how to remember things. See, remembering involves 3 processes. One is actually called what is called as registration. Something should go inside. In fact, storage. In fact, it should get recorded there. Then it is possible to retrieve. All these things are possible. See, one of the studies is actually that one of the major curve what they talk about is the Ebbinghaus curve. What it means is, if it is something not interesting, it is only certain alphabets and related things, 80% of what we try to learn, we lose it at the end of about 20 minutes itself. So something interesting, you attach, associate with certain very pleasant things, you are interested in the drive and motivated for this particular point, you are likely to remember better. Reading continuously, in fact, you are likely to forget a lot of things. You read for maybe about 45 minutes, 1 hour, give a gap of about 5 to 10 minutes, and then try to read. Read, and then you spend little time actually analyzing what actually you have read. You are likely to remember things much better fashion. So there is actually data available. So what you read, only about 20% you remember. 30% of what you hear, 40% of what you see, 50% of what you say, and 60% of what, in fact, when you mix some of the things, 90% of what we learn with all actually components combined together. What it means is, whatever type of capacity what we may be having, there is always scope for improving and in fact progressing well. Job stresses or education stresses could be many, but all said and done, when you are having that energy or initiative to do well, in fact, you have already done a good job related to this. And when we see on the surface, it may be one component of it. What we were talking to you so far was something biological, but there are so many other unconscious and other mechanisms what actually, in fact, psychologists believe. See, there are some conflicts, there are guilt associated, and many other such things can interfere with your capacity to handle things. And ego is one of the terminology Dr. Shivanand was mentioning. Unless you are capable of compromising, trying to see the answers rather than actually your importance, in fact, you are likely to do very well compared to. And people, particularly, I must do well, 100% I should be thorough. Before going for the exam, I have not read completely, I don't take the exam, next time I will take. Absolutely, it is not possible that in given time, all the things what you are necessary to be studying, in fact, can be completed at that particular time. Not possible. For each one, say for example, somebody is studying pre-university, what he needs to study is different from somebody is studying for BSc, somebody is studying for MPhil. Though at each level, things change. There is nothing like I have read completely. The same topic can be studied by same scientists in a small component in a very big way to at the lower level. In fact, too many things in a small way. In fact, this is the way actually the things go. And what actually I was trying to talk to you, the personality traits. Those who are understanding, those who adjust well, in fact, they are likely to do well. Those who are anxious and those who are, say, people have documented somebody who is time conscious, goes after, in fact, the deadlines and all the time is worried, very disciplined, God-fearing. In fact, they are likely to develop so many other types of disorders and problems. With that, I'm not trying to tell you that you should be very casual and relaxed, but what I'm trying to tell you, you have to strike a balance between what is realistically possible and what it is not. So, and research has shown somebody who went through difficulties likely to be more stronger. In fact, this is what actually we refer to as hardiness. In fact, this is the terminology. So, ultimately, what one can talk about is actually the constitution, our body. We have our eyes, head, limbs, and everything is functioning well. You must be thankful to the God. The personality what you have developed, and if you are capable of handling things, very major stresses also may look very simple. For another person, a simple stress may become actually something very problematic. This is one of the reasons only sons, only daughters, in fact, too much of love and affection, all these type of things can actually produce difficulties. And many times, very rich families, in fact, the children not doing well, not because of anything, but for them, they had no occasion to learn that stresses, how actually to manage. When one stress is there, we are stressful. When 2 or 3 things come suddenly, one after another, you imagine death of a relative. You imagine again the financial burden that came up. That means 2 things. And you are supposed to take the exam at that particular time. So more stresses come like that. It produces more instability. The contribution of parents is very well documented. Mother, in fact, she's one of the bulwark of how actually a personality develops. But you might have also seen there is something like Father's Day nowadays talk about. See, role of both father and mother have been implied in this particular thing. But child says only the mother's love, and this may be one of the reasons why actually fathers get relegated. Basically, they are considered as responsible to so many other things, but not necessarily be so. In fact, his very presence actually adds to the personality development, and for the children's point of view, extremely important component. Okay, coming to stress, we are all well aware about anxiety and stress we have spoken. And these are the one responsible causes for many man-hours loss, and one should be able to manage. Not only, in fact, man-hours loss, but the range of disorders. When we talk about hypertension, we talk about coronary artery disease. In fact, there is something called coronary artery disease-prone personality. More disciplined, more conscientious, more likely are for coronary artery disease. So this is actually documented. Anxiety producing asthmatic and other related respiratory distresses, headache, and so many other such problems are attributed to stress. Other psychosomatic disorders, in fact, almost every system one can document. Just 1 or 2 few things, actually, the multiple aches, pains, actually one may present to, in fact, the fits and brain. And in fact, the back pain, very common, extremely common, pain in so many areas, actually one can document. About digestion, about menstruation, about reproduction, dermatological problems. One gray hair, in fact, students get so much upset, oh, whether I'm getting old. And not only that, in fact, you suddenly become anxious, there may be a patchy loss of hair, and many other such things can happen. Urticarial rashes to 100 other such problems actually have been demonstrated dermatologically. You lose weight or you want to lose weight, that itself can become a stressful this thing. See, boys hostel mess bill is something totally different from the women's hostel mess bill, because if I add weight, in fact, I lose my market value. This is one of the very common theme. Don't eat at all like that. In fact, what is referred to as anorexia too. In fact, there are some people who try to manage stress by just eating. So this is one of the other documented this thing where people put on weight when no other actually organic factor is present. And this COVID time, you are all there now sitting in front of the laptops, and not much energy loss, but eating, drinking, all of these things might be adding to your putting on weight. Many people have added what they were adding weight for about 3, 4, 5 years in the last 3 to 4 months. Extremely common. That obesity itself can lead to quite a bit of difficulty. Your sleeping pattern has got affected because you are at home. What time to get up, what time to sleep. In fact, there may be much liberation from all these type of hassles, and you sleep at odd hours, you don't get sleep at regular hours, and all these type of things. No. Sexual problems are extremely common. Erectile difficulties, orgasmic problems, mental illnesses. In fact, when we talk about schizophrenia, disorders related to suspicions and other things, delusions, what we talk about, alcohol and smoking and other drug usage. extremely common. It has become nowadays is actually one of the very, very documented things. Only thing what you have to do is actually no thanks. Don't, in fact, only for the friend's sake I drink, or friend's sake I smoke. Each of these things can become major problems to get out of actually. And in the stress management is one of the very important components. Other minor problems, like so maybe you have to teach somebody or maybe go to on the stage and make a seminar presentation, that can actually, in fact, social anxiety to escaping from the responsibility, whole lot of physical symptoms, falling unconscious, developing weakness in the limbs, and such other things actually students present. Washing hands, being very systematic. In fact, because of the corona, apart from social distance and mask wearing, they tell you that at least about 20 seconds you are supposed to wash thoroughly. You imagine another fellow was very much worried about all the time about neat cleanliness. Now he has become much more anxious because of this particular problem. There was one video which is not opening, forget about it. Mild form of depression to severe form of depression is very well documented. And ultimately, when we are trying to look at psychiatric disorders, it is actually a combination of many disorders. Your anxiety, major depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, social phobia, obsessive compulsive disorder. But many of these type of things actually exist together, and depending upon what symptom is more, one may be actually trying to make it right. Much more problematic nowadays is actually this quarantine and other terminologies you must have heard of. Feeling lonely, isolated, quarantine, in fact, adds so much of stress. Actually, this could be one of the major problems for the depression and the suicide. Suicide, say September 9th is actually Suicide Prevention Day. We are all aware of the problems are happening in the colleges. They are doing well, but they are not able to handle stress is one of the common themes. And earlier days, the joint family and such other supportive technologies used to be there. Now it is actually managed by gadgets, which may not come to your help or rescue when actually you need to try to talk to the people. This can happen with, see, you might have heard of all the day now about Sushant's maybe inverted comma suicide, to Deepika went through suicide and such other things. So depression is extremely common. Recognizing early and treating is very, very important things. Feeling sad, not getting pleasure out of the activities, feeling weak and tired are extremely common components of depression. Added to that, appetite, weight, bowel, bladder, sleep, many of these dimensions actually people may have symptoms. When you evaluate, you don't get anything. But this particular person is unable to do activities. So this is where a whole lot of psychology comes. How should we manage this particular stress? One of the simple common theme is actually be aware of exercise, food and nutrition, talking, relaxation techniques, and where necessary counseling. This is what actually I can, very simple terminologies I can tell you. Drugs are not the answers. First, understand and recognize what actually is the problem. Alcohol, smoking are not the answers for any of your stresses. Mobile and other related things. We are there with people, but we are not there. See, you may be alone, but you may be with together people. You are there in the group, but still you may be feeling lonely. And mobile has made our life actually really worst possible scenario. So, depending upon your capabilities and depending upon your type of problems, in fact, you can choose what is right for me. And just to elaborate some of these things, what we have mentioned here, one or two small points. Food is not vegetarian, non-vegetarian, or this, that is not going to determine anything. What is necessary is actually you eat adequate, balanced diet. Time to time, extremely important. Breakfast should be a bigger this thing, lunch medium, and dinner less. In fact, this is actually what Ayurveda talks about. In fact, try to follow that. Exercise. Exercise is one of the extremely important. In fact, what actually has been documented is actually there are some specific neurotransmitters and chemicals. You do even 20 to 30 minutes of medium level exercise, all these pleasant components actually increase by 2 to 3 times at the end of about third to fourth week. So very, very important. There are mind medicine aspects like positive thinking. I can do well, can help you in a big way. I don't give up easily. In fact, I will fight till the last minute. In fact, this is what actually one of the important things. This slide actually Shivananda also focused realistic self-assessment, self-regulation, motivated, being empathetic, and develop social skills. They all actually can add. Don't think you have to hold the whole world actually on your head. You have to be happy. Not that tomorrow I want to be happy. In fact, today, enjoy this very minute. In fact, what God has given, in fact, very often we just don't miss it without realizing it actually. Laughter, the best medicine. Whatever type of stress is there, your capacity to, in fact, handle actually increases and your immunity improves and so many other metabolic and other related issues happen that you feel much better. Laughter, the best medicine, what people have told is absolutely true. Yoga, and a range of relaxation techniques, including prayer, music. In fact, people have found beneficial in managing the stress. Relaxed means it is actually properly well relaxed. Again, what method you want to follow, it is actually left to you. You might have seen this migratory population when they were put under quarantine and in certain specific situations. There are some people who are engaged with certain activities. There are other people who are sitting and worried. This is the difference between whether somebody does well or somebody doesn't do well. So for the stress management, how you take life is actually important component. Without communication, you are nothing. And this happens in the school, in the house, in the college, or everywhere. And how actually we deal friends to teachers to, in fact, family, they are extremely important component. And last about 3 to 4 slides, what I will be trying to talk to you about, these particular days, social distancing and all like that, the sex and related aspects also has become one of the major common problem, and intimacy issues are extremely important. It was jokingly told that man falls in love with his wife and breaks up with girlfriend during lockdown. In fact, now the time has come for the people to understand each other. In fact, man telling that I understand my wife is so nice, or wife telling that my husband is so good, I never knew. In fact, this may be one of the occasions that has actually, this COVID-19 has given to that. Wherever we have positive aspects to our partners, our friends, in fact, we are likely to do well and we are likely to forget about small mistakes they may be there. No person comes with 100% being fine and all that. Our relationship, intimacy issues have got affected in a significant way. Almost about 1/3 to, in fact, nearly half of the people they have reported. But a small number of people have told that, in fact, their life has improved significantly. I am having now time to understand my partner. I am having time to, in fact, do well. And we are, in fact, bonding very well. But these are the few things actually people have documented. But all said and done, problems have come up in much bigger way. And that's what actually we are seeing. Social distancing can create problems. But important point here is actually, don't ever try to be away from wearing masks. When you are in the group, wearing mask is extremely important. Maintaining social distance is extremely important. Hygiene and washing the hands, extremely important components. Don't ever try to make adventurism actually. In fact, sex with the strangers, anybody new, and lot many other type of sexual activities can be a little more dangerous too during this particular time. Masturbation, absolutely, there is no complications reported actually with this. Mutual reliable partner, sex toys, vibrators, watching pornography, blue sex, online sex, sexting. In fact, I'm not trying to tell you that, in fact, you should indulge in many of these type of things. But the important component is actually that COVID has taught us that so long you are taking care of your responsible way, life, things would be better. Communication, communication, communication. Talk about, in fact, when you have something problem, in fact, there are teachers and your administrators are there who can be of great help to you. From Indian Psychiatric Society, I am actually the General Secretary for national body. We have done a lot of things. In fact, there are phone numbers available wherein people can talk and get the help wherever necessary. In fact, the free service is being offered, almost around 700 plus psychiatrists offering this service. And anytime, in fact, JSS Medical College, Department of Psychiatry is there for you to help. Almost at the last point, no one can make you happy. You have to be happy. In fact, this is what actually the theme on which actually things were. When all the things does not necessarily go according to your plan, that capacity to understand that there is another higher power is there, which can take care of, which can help me, can make a wonderful difference in your life. With these few words, what I'm trying to tell you, recognize and be aware that stress is actually part and parcel of our life. Take the helping hand wherever possible and necessary. And that is one of the best way to kick the stress out. And stress could be one of the major common problem for many of the problems what you encounter. In fact, this can be handled very easily by just spending a little time and trying to understand what it is. So that way you can do well in your studies, come out with flying colors, bring the name, fame to your parents, teachers, and all the people involved. I wish you all the best and do well in the coming year. Best wishes. Thank you very much for this opportunity that has given to me. Thank you. My presentation is over.
Arun sir. Hello.
Any questions are there, miss? I can take, or I think 11:45 they are supposed to be having break. Shivanand, anybody there from their side? Any questions are there? Any questions?
Sir, nothing, all clear, sir.
I think host is not there.
No, sir.
No, is that? Okay. Shall I get out of this? ಆಯ್ತು ಕಡೆಯವರು ಯಾರು ಇದು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ವಲ್ಲ. ಮುಗಿದಿದೆ.
ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೆ.
Hello. Am I audible, sir? Hello.
You are audible.
You are audible, sir.
Sir, next Dr. Kishore will do, sir. Kishore sir is ready. Kishore sir, you are online, sir.
I'm online, but do they want break? What is Dr. Arun's opinion?
Shivanand, they are supposed to get about 50 minutes break according to the timetable.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Shivanand, there are no more questions now.
Dr. Arun.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Just a minute, sir.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just
I think
joining,
there's
sir.
a break time, I believe.
Yes, sir. I'm just joining, sir. Yes.
Yeah.
Sir, shall we start back by 12:15, sir? Is it okay, sir?
I am ready. I am okay with 12:15.
Yeah, because it's already 11:50 now.
Yeah.
We'll give around 20 minutes break, sir.
Yeah, yeah. I am okay with that.
Yeah, 12:10 we'll ask them to join, sir, so that within 5 minutes we'll again we'll start, sir.
Done. I am ready. Fine.
Yes, sir. So, dear students, we will have a short break for about 15 minutes or 20 minutes. Okay. I request you all to join back by 12:10. Now it is 11:50 almost. So take 20 minutes break by and join by 12:10. Then next within 5 minutes by 12:15 sharp we'll start the next session. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah.